Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar, 5 Strategies to Better Segment Your Current Lead Database. My name is Andy Cluck. I'm on the marketing team here at Ledgeview. We're a Salesforce Silver Consulting Partner and also a Microsoft Dynamics CRM Gold Partner. For those of you who are unfamiliar with us, Ledgeview Partners helps businesses transform their approach to sales, marketing, and customer service by aligning these teams to focus on improving their customers' experience and also providing management with metrics through technology to evaluate their success. For today's webinar, we're going to focus on segmenting your lead database to better target your leads. Let's face it, customers today expect a personalized experience because not everyone's obstacles are the same as a customer. So in order to offer customers that type of personal experience they desire, we first need to focus on ways to segment our leads in those databases so we can tailor our messaging as sales and marketing professionals to that specific potential buyer. So it's basically targeting them personally. But before I turn things over to our presenter to dive into those details, I just want to mention that today's webinar is being recorded and it's going to be available on demand after the live session today. All attendees are going to receive an email shortly following this webinar, and that's going to have a link to access the presentation on demand. I encourage you to share this with your team and network as well. To ensure the best audio quality, we do have everyone in listen-only mode again, but if you do have a question, please submit those in the question pane on that GoToWebinar control panel. We have a lot to cover today, but we'll promise to follow up afterwards if we don't get to your question. All right, now time to introduce our presenter today. Once again, we have Jody Gilroy joining us. Jody is a CRM application consultant here at Ledgeview Partners with an extensive background in CRM and marketing. Jody, we're ready to hear about segmenting our lead database. It's all yours.
Awesome. Thanks, Andy, and welcome to everybody on the call today. Thank you for joining this webinar. As Andy said, there is no one-size-fits-all for customers. So when we're looking at emailing or, contacting our customers or creating content, we need to look at them as individuals. So today we're going to look at how segmentation can help to do that. And specifically, we're going to look at our lead database and look at segmentation strategies around lead and behavioral attributes, buyer personas, sales stages, and lead scores. So we're going to look at 5 today. Are there other ways to segment? Absolutely. But I find these to be probably the most effective or the most common uses for segmentation. So let's get started. So before we begin, let's start with some basic terminology to kind of set the stage for today's session. And I kind of thought this Rubik's Cube was a good visual in doing that. Think of the Rubik's Cube as your business, with each of the squares representing a potential customer and or lead for your business. So by definition, a lead is someone that has shown an interest in your product or service and is considering doing business with you. You may have generated that lead, at a trade show you attended, off a webinar you hosted, like the one you're attending today, or from a form submission off of your website. So no matter the method, this lead has basically raised their hand and said they are interested in your business. And this leads us to our next definition of segmentation. You now have this, pool of people. So, in the world of marketing, segmentation is the process of taking that pool or that database of people, in this case your database of leads, and breaking the list into groups of like people. Just like the challenge of the Rubik's Cube, you're trying to move all of the pieces of the puzzle around until they fit just right and match up. And just like the Rubik's Cube game, it may take multiple attempts to get it just right. So knowing that the task of segmentation can be, I would guess, somewhat challenging in some cases, why should you even bother? Segmentation is just a very important process when creating targeted marketing as well as sales programs. You need to be keenly aware of who you are speaking to and consider their wants and needs and plan your messaging accordingly. Having proper segmentation and awareness of your audiences will help you to define the topic of the message you are sending, align your content to the correct group, align proper calls to action to your target segment. But most importantly, it's what your customers want and expect. They want to be spoken to as individuals. So to drive this point home further, let me share a personal example with you. My husband purchased a new Chevy truck within the last year. During the research sales process, he became a lead to Chevy, the manufacturer, as well as our local Chevy dealership from a foreign conversion off of the Chevy website. And anyone that has ever purchased a vehicle knows that upon purchase, you need to, register the VIN number. And in our case, we also took advantage of several promotional offers and financing. So it goes without saying that Chevy is well aware that their lead, which is us, has now converted to a customer. So then why? Why 3, 6, and 9 months after purchasing the vehicle are we still receiving new truck direct mail offers at least once per month? Our past purchase history would indicate that we hold onto our vehicles for a long duration. So purchasing within a year or even a couple of years is not going to happen, no matter really how pretty the brochure is. Has Chevy segmented their database to add value to me as a customer? And really, are they making effective use of their marketing dollars by sending this offer to us? Sending me oil change and tire rotation offers are targeted and relevant, and those make sense to email me or even mail me, but not a new truck offer. Save that messaging for 5 years from now when maybe my warranty is expiring or I've actually put some mileage on the vehicle. So the goal of today's session is to get better at segmentation so your leads do feel like you're understanding and speaking to them directly, and you're making better use of your marketing dollars and or efforts. So let's get started with step number 1. The first tactic we will discuss is the strategy of segmenting by lead attributes. Lead attributes are the demographic, geographic, and firmographic data sets that can define your customer segments. The ones listed here are just a few examples to get you started. But the key is to determine what attributes are important to you or in your business. Ask questions like, does the location of the customer matter to you? What job titles within an organization are likely to make purchasing decisions for you? What industries do you serve? And of those, does the company of the size help to determine and define the customer you are trying to reach? Some of these will be relevant and some won't. So take a minute, I'm just going to pause here for a second, and ask yourself, what are the top 3 defining attributes for the market that you serve? Okay, now think about your marketing efforts. Specifically, let's just pick web forms. Are you asking these types of qualifying questions on your forums? Are you collecting this data and are you storing it in the lead record in your CRM or marketing automation program? Depending on the amount of products or services you offer, you may have different attributes that you want to collect to create different profiles. But the key is to start collecting that so that you can segment by these type of attributes. So during today's webinar, I'm actually going to jump back and forth here between my PowerPoint and my actual demo system. So I'm going to jump into Dynamics CRM right now, and I'm going to develop a quick marketing list based off a few lead attributes. I thought this would be a good way to visually show you how to segment. So once I create this lead, then I can then use this in email or lead nurturing campaigns and position content messaging that's relevant to the selected segment that I just built. So let's take a look. All right, and I did pre-create these just out of time's sake here of the call time that we have. So the first one I'm going to show you are leads. Leads, I've taken a segmentation. I want to look at leads that have a purchasing intent of immediate. So there's just a little bit of test data in the system, so I'm not going to see huge results in here. So let's take a look. But basically, I'm creating a marketing list within Dynamics CRM, and I'm running an advanced find or query against all of my data in the system. In this case, I'm looking for all leads with a status of equal open. So that means they have not been qualified or they're not disqualified. They're just leads sitting in our database that are considered active. In this case, my segmentation is going to look at the purchasing time frame. So I have several options that I'm collecting from my customers. Are you interested in purchasing in the next 2 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months, this month, unknown or immediate? In this case, I want to see all the people that have indicated immediate purchasing intent. So I pick that as my value. I'm going to use that query. In this case, again, not a lot of data in the system. I have two results. I can then use this marketing list in my communications. So I want to send different messaging to the people that want to buy immediately, maybe a promo offer, versus the people that are not going to purchase for another year or so. That I'm going to put in a different nurture campaign and just kind of continue to drip messages to them that keep them interested, but the ones that are ready to buy, I'm going to try to push forward with a promotion or whatever is applicable to your business. Okay, so tactic number 1 was fairly mainstream segmentation, and the place where most businesses typically start out, or it's pretty logical. So let's move on to an area that may not be as mainstream for many businesses. This is tactic number 2, and this is segmenting your database based on lead behaviors. The age of big data, as I call it, has provided us with much deeper insights into buyer behavior, actions, and patterns. With this data at our fingertips, let's use it to segment our lead database. For example, using a marketing automation tool, you can track the individual web page activity for each of the leads in your database. Let's say that you just launched a new product and you want to send an email communication to further promote the offering. You have the intelligence at your fingertips to pull a list of all leads that recently visited that new product page on your website. Or maybe you want to pull those that have visited the page 3 or more times. You can set this query in your system and build that type of list. You could do the same thing based on email clicked or the type of blog article the lead is reading. New leads in some cases can also be past customers of previous product or services that you've offered. And that past purchase cycle intelligence and buying frequency could be used to help you close the sale of your new offering. Just like the lead attributes, the type of behaviors to track will be defined by your particular organization and buyer groups. So let's jump back into Dynamic CRM and build a marketing list based on a specific behavior. And again, while my demo today is featuring Dynamic CRM, in this case I also have ClickDimensions Marketing Automation tool installed. This is functionality that can be replicated in other CRM or marketing automation platforms, for example, Salesforce and Pardot. Okay, let's take a look. Grab my marketing list again. This time we're going to look at leads with email engagement. So we'll preface this with you're not going to see any results because this is a demo system, so we haven't actually engaged in actual emails, but let's look at the query at least for an example. All right, so again, I'm looking at my leads. The status equals open. So again, all open leads. And now I'm going to dive down and actually looking at email event activity. So in this case, I wanted to see I'm querying the database against all emails that were sent for this email type. So the new AX400 security software was just released. That was the email type that I sent out. Of the email that were sent out, I want to run a list of all the people that actually opened and engaged in the email. So the type equals opened. You can see that here. There's also other activities that I want to put. Maybe I only want to look at people that opened and clicked it, or just, obviously have to open to click, but that could be my criteria as well. Use that query, that's going to build my list as we go through. So that's an example of using these lists for behavioral segmentation. Okay. So tactic number 3 has us looking at segmentation by persona. Buyer personas, if you're new to that, are just fictional representations of your ideal customer groups. They have a defined set of attributes and behave in a certain way that's ideal to you as an organization. If you have attended any of our past marketing webinars, you will know I'm a huge advocate of creating personas for your organization. And I don't think I've actually presented one webinar where I haven't mentioned them. So let's take a closer look. Here's an example of a buyer persona group for a company looking to sell security management software. Their target is Software Sally in this case. She has several attributes that make up her persona. And with this persona, build as many leads that come into their business. So if the lead matches the defined persona criteria, the lead will automatically be added to the segmentation bucket once it's defined. So let's take a look at this in CRM. And I also want to show you how people can move dynamically through these lists by just changing one of those attributes. In this case, we'll look at the title, their job title, and how that changes it. So let's look at how it's structured first. So I've developed a list here for Persona Software Sally, and we're going to look at the criteria. So I've set up my criteria for the things that were listed in that PowerPoint slide. I'm looking for any of our leads that meet the job category of Director of IT or IT Management. I have age designation as well as education, experience level, and their product interest. Okay, so when I use that query, you're going to see that I am going to create a few results here in the system. So Eva, Gabrielle, and Allison. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to take a look at Gabrielle's profile, and just for the sake of, I'm going to change her job category here to CEO. We're going to jump back to that marketing list. Because the marketing list is set up as a dynamic list, meaning that it will pull people in and out versus a static list that is a one-time pull of your data, when I run the results, we can see that Gabrielle is now removed from the list because she no longer meets the criteria that was defined by this persona group. So as you can see, by setting these up, from an automation standpoint, once you have defined these profiles and new leads come into your business, these lists will automatically update as people meet the criteria or no longer meet the criteria over time. So it comes in very handy. All right. Jump back to our PowerPoint. The fourth area is we're all very aware that in virtually every organization there is a sales process that leads typically go through. And this brings us to tactic number 4, which is segmenting by sales stage. This is an example of one type of sales funnel. A lead can potentially move through each of these stages, and as buyers ourselves, we know that depending on what stage we are in, the information we are looking for or the problem we are trying to solve is different at each of these points. Segmenting by where your leads are in your sales stage can help you provide relevant information to your leads to help with conversion. So you might be asking yourself, how do I know what stage of the sales cycle my leads are in? Asking questions about purchasing intent is one way. Watching the leads of web browsing on your site is another. What calls to actions are they clicking on? How engaged are they with the emails you have sent? What type of content are they consuming on your blog or website? All of this intelligence or information can help you to bucket your leads into sales stages or segments. And then with the use of dynamic lists, as I just shown, your leads can flow in and out of these stages based on their activity levels. Okay, let's go take a hands-on look again in our demo system. Okay, Here we're going to look, I define this segment to look for all leads that are in a sales stage of pre-qualify. So how am I defining that in my query? This one's pretty simple. You can get a lot more complex. In this dynamic CRM, there's actually a sales stage field that is tracked. So in this case, I want to see all the ones that are currently not equal qualified, and that is going to provide me with a list of all pre-qualified leads. In this case, this is who I want to reach out to. As you define your sales stages in your CRM system, this can become, more, relevant to your particular sales stages. And so you would create these lists for pre-qualified, qualified, pending, evaluation stage or actual purchasing stages. So you'll define that, pick the correct sales stage, create that list, and that's going to dynamically populate as people move through that meet those attributes. Okay. So the final segmentation that we'll discuss today is the tactic of segmenting by lead score. If you're using a marketing automation system, most have the ability to score both behavioral as well as attribute type criteria. For example, when a high priority page on your website is visited, you may want to assign 10 points for that visit. Or when the contact us form is submitted, you may want to assign a value of 30. You may also assign point values based on attributes such as job title or the location of the lead. Once these scoring values are being created, you can then establish specific buckets for each of the scoring levels. For example, I may have a list for those with a score less than 25, one for 25 to 50 points, and another for 50 plus. So when creating lead nurturing campaigns, I will use the scoring values as potential indicators of the sales stage or interest level and will tailor my messaging accordingly, both my messaging as well as maybe the frequency of my messaging. So lead scoring is really a great way to take multiple lead attributes and combine them to create scoring levels to segment and manage your database. Let's take one final look at this in the CRM system. You can see here I've actually created the three that I mentioned in the PowerPoint. So I have a lead score with less than 25, 25 to 50, and 50 plus. And I've rated those as low, medium, and high as far as my kind of priority levels. Let's open this one up and look at the query. The query is the same for each of the three, just different defined profiles. So here, again, all open leads. There is a total score field in my CRM system, and that is due to having a marketing automation system integrated in this case. If my score is greater than or equal to 25 and the score is less than or equal to 50, this is how people are going to fall into this particular category. So I'm going to use my query. I have two individuals that meet that criteria. Let's jump back. Same query set up here for 50 plus. We got a couple people there. And then also 25. So I'm going to take Marco here, and I'm just going to show you that, let's say Marco was on our website, and he's accumulating points, and he also clicked on a couple emails, and he's pretty much at that 20 level. Let's say he came in today and he submitted the contact us form, and I have my system configured to anytime somebody does it, that's 40 points. Well, this will happen automatically, but I'm going to do it manually right now. Once he submits that form and that value is attributed, he's going to bump up to 60 points, okay? So when I go over here to my mailing list, and we go to the 50, Marco is now on that list. So what does that mean? Okay, well, if I have nurturing campaigns going on, he is going to switch. So maybe I have him on the 25 less track, and maybe he's getting an email once per month from me, and it's kind of infrequent. But once he hits this level, we have a whole different engagement strategy. And what's going to happen is that campaign automation is going to trigger based on his new entry into this dynamic list. And we're now going to engage with Marco on a whole different level than we did when he was at the 25 level. This also helps too with passing leads over to your sales team as well for follow-up. All right, so we're reaching the end here of our presentation today. So let's summarize the 5 tactics covered today to get you on your way to establishing a lead segmentation plan for your particular business. So you can segment by lead attributes, behaviors, personas, sales stages, and lead score. And remember, as I said at the beginning, these are just 5 segmentation tactics, but there are others that may make sense for your business. Once you have your leads segmented, you can then create workflows in your market automation tool to nurture those leads. Create content that caters to the different segments defined. Include that content on your website, in your email marketing, in your blogs. Create calls to actions that are dynamically displayed to those groups based on the segment that they're in. And finally, over time, monitor your engagement and conversion rates for your segments and reassess your strategies based on your results. Just like picking up the Rubik's Cube for the first time, your first attempt at completing the puzzles may not happen, and you will have to keep working at it until all the right pieces are in place. So this wraps up today's webinar. I hope you enjoyed the conversation today. If you do have questions, feel free to submit them in the question pane, and we'll follow up with you after the webinar. I will now turn it back over to Andy to wrap up today's call.
All right, thanks, Jody. As usual, an awesome presentation. A huge differentiator going forward is going to be that customer experience. So it is extremely important to be sure that you are targeting your customers with the right messaging, so that makes sure it relates to their personal situations. And that's all going to start with that segmented lead database. Right message for the right person, right? All right, before we go, I do want to mention that today's webinar is going to be on demand, so you're going to see that in an email shortly after we close out here. And also I want to encourage everyone to check out our upcoming webinars. You can do that by going to ledgeviewpartners.com and then just clicking on the news and events circle that's on that page. So thanks again, and if you did submit a question, we'll be sure to follow up afterwards as we are running out of time. And from all of us at Ledgeview Partners, have a great rest of your Thursday.